President Trump and congressional Republicans return to work this week, facing enormous pressure to achieve major policy victories and carry out such basic acts of governance as providing disaster relief in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, avoiding a default on the nation's debt, and keeping federal agencies open. So far, there is little evidence of progress. On Sunday, a proposal from Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to attach recovery aid to legislation raising the nation's borrowing limit quickly drew objections from conservative lawmakers seeking spending cuts. And Trump and the White House have only recently engaged with congressional leaders, who must navigate the demands of conservatives but also those of Democrats, who have the votes to derail most bills in the Senate. Republicans are scheduled to discuss tax cuts at the White House on Tuesday, Trump's first direct engagement with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell since early August, when the president criticized the Kentucky Republican on Twitter and in an expletive-laden phone call. On Wednesday, Trump will meet with leaders of both parties, his first face-to-face meeting with top Democrats since January. Even before Hurricane Harvey swept across southeastern Texas, the White House and lawmakers faced a series of dire deadlines likely to establish September as the busiest and most challenging month so far in the Trump presidency. Among the most pivotal decisions is how to avoid a federal default when the government reaches its borrowing limit at the end of the month. Failure to raise the debt ceiling could plunge financial markets and the economy into turmoil. Lawmakers and the White House also must extend government spending beyond September to avert a federal shutdown. And deadlines to reauthorize a flood insurance program and extend health insurance for low-income children also loom before the end of the month. Approving a Harvey aid package and beginning talks toward the GOP's top legislative priority, an overhaul of the tax system, add to the pressure. Mnuchin's revelation Sunday on Fox News that Trump hopes to include disaster aid in debt ceiling legislation provoked conservative lawmakers who have pushed for spending cuts in exchange for their support for raising the debt limit. These lawmakers were already signaling plans for a rebellion over the entire September agenda if leaders don't agree to major cuts and changes to expensive federal programs such as Medicaid. Representative Mark Meadows, RNC, chairman of the hard-right House Freedom Caucus, who had previously warned against attaching a debt limit increase to Harvey aid, accused Mnuchin on Sunday of reneging on his prior rhetoric. "I find it interesting that the secretary has long called for a clean debt ceiling and now suggests that we attach something to the debt ceiling vote," Meadows said. "There should be a clean bill, it's called the Hurricane Harvey Relief Bill." The leader of the Republican Study Committee, another group of House conservatives, also raised pointed objections Sunday. Representative Mark Walker, NC, said in a statement that any debt ceiling increase should be paired with significant fiscal and structural reforms and that the need for Harvey aid did not remove that imperative. "Our obligation is to assist those impacted by this great flood, but it's past time the swamp waters in D.C. begin receding as well," Walker said. "That starts with being both compassionate and fiscally responsible. These two principles are not at odds. All of it comes at a politically perilous time for Trump, the first new president in 40 years to fail to secure a major legislative victory during his first 7 months in office." Although Trump remains popular with core supporters, his overall approval rating has hovered below 40% as he has inflamed opponents with his handling of the violent protests in Charlottesville, his pardon of controversial former Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Arizona, and his plans to scale back protections for undocumented immigrants brought to this country as children. Trump's relationships with lawmakers have also deteriorated over the summer. He has lashed out publicly against several Republicans, including McConnell, whom the president blamed for the party's dramatic failure to fulfill a major campaign promise of the past 7 years, repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act. Some White House officials say they are hoping they can avoid the adversarial tone with lawmakers that Trump has used for months, seeking to cut deals over the debt ceiling and spending. There is also widespread agreement about fast-tracking a hurricane relief package, and the White House has even reached out to Democrats, a new tactic after months of clashes. How to do so remains a sticking point, given the contrasting position of conservative Republicans. Mick Mulvaney, director of the Office of Management and Budget, said in an interview that the administration's rapid response to Harvey,